This is the AI Advantage. I'm your host, Scholl Immelman. Each week we cut through the noise and focus only on the things that really matter in AI, from practical tools, real insights, and ways to leverage AI in your life and your business. In today's episode, I'm going to show you what separates people getting incredible results from AI and everyone else who's still struggling with generic cookie-cutter responses. So let's jump in. Imagine this. You hire this guy to work in your company. Apparently he's brilliant. He comes super highly recommended, and he's scheduled to start tomorrow. So you get into the office in the morning and he's there waiting to get going, and you're already impressed. So you spend the day with him and you basically brief him on everything about your business, what your business does, who your clients are, what you're working on right now. And you take him through each department, introduce him to all your staff, and you outline your company processes. And you spend a good long while explaining his job description and what you're expecting from him. And what really impresses you most, besides his vast knowledge about literally everything in the universe, is his ability to absorb new information. Whatever you tell him, he picks it up instantly. And in fact, he can recite everything you just told him, word for word. So by the end of the day, you've given him a full rundown of your business from top to bottom. And before going home, you set him loose on his first task. And wow, it's perfect. In fact, it's better than perfect. And he did it in a fraction of the time than anyone else in the company could have done it. And you can't believe your luck. You've managed to employ an absolute genius. And for what you're paying him, which is next to nothing, you've just leveled up your entire company with one hire. But there's a catch. What you never knew when you hired him is that he suffers from a severe case of amnesia. So the next morning you get into the office and your new star is already there waiting. So you give him the same task as you did yesterday, but this time it's terrible. He's forgotten the client's name, doesn't remember the process you walked him through yesterday, and has no idea what your company even does. You can hardly believe it's the same person. At first you think maybe you made a mistake and you hired an idiot, but then you start to notice a pattern. The more time you spend with him re-explaining everything, the better he performs. So that's what you do. Every morning you brief him. Then throughout the day, whenever he's working on something new, you're right there explaining the background, giving him details, and providing fresh context. And when you do that, he's brilliant. But this goes on for a week and you realize this is killing your productivity. You can't get your work done because you're basically his shadow, constantly having to re-explain things. This is not sustainable. And so that's when you have your bright idea. What if you wrote everything down? So that's what you do. You create a Word document, you call it the company handbook, and you put all the key information he needs, who you are, what your business does, your clients, your processes, his job description. And every morning and before every task, he reads the document. And suddenly he's back. Not perfect, but way better. So every day you keep adding more and more information to the document. And every time he reads it, he gets better and better. You've basically solved the amnesia problem. Not by fixing his memory, but by systematically preloading him with all the right context before each task. In the world of AI, we call this context engineering. I know that sounds fancy, but it's really just the same idea. Giving AI all the relevant information it needs before asking it to perform a task. AI has the same problem as your genius employee. Brilliant with context, but useless without it. And because it lacks memory, you're either re-explaining yourself every single chat or skipping it entirely and getting mediocre results. If only there was a way to set it once, like that Word document, and have it included every time you open ChatGPT. Well, technically you can. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from creating a document and writing all the context in, who you are, what your business does, your clients, your processes, etc. And then every time you open ChatGPT, you copy and paste all of that information into the chat. But that's kind of tedious. And here's the bigger problem. You'd be dumping all your context every single time, even the stuff that's not relevant to what you're working on right now. It's the same problem we had with our genius employee. At first, the company handbook worked brilliantly, but as it grew, it became massive. And when he's working on sales calls, he's wading through operational procedures. When he's doing client work, he's reading manufacturing specs that have got nothing to do with the task. Super inefficient. So what you ended up doing was you evolved it. Instead of one giant document, you split it into 3 layers. Layer 1 you created was the core handbook. This is the stuff that's always relevant. It's the company mission, the key clients, your values, and how you operate. Layer 2, you created department-specific handbooks. sales information for when he's doing sales, or operations info when he's doing operations, and client backgrounds for client meetings. And layer 3 is the task-specific notes, details about this particular client or this project or this meeting happening today. Now he reads the core handbook, plus he reads relevant department-specific handbook and today's task notes. It's way more efficient, all the context he needs and none of the irrelevant stuff. So ideally, you'd want to do the same thing with AI, right? You'd like to split the context into layers. The base stuff, which is always relevant, the domain-specific stuff for the different types of work you're doing, and the task-specific details. Now, here's the beautiful part. The AI platforms, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, etc., they've already solved this. They built this exact 3-layer structure directly into their system. In Claude, for instance, which is what I typically use, layer 1, which is the core handbook, it lives in your account settings, and I'll show you how to set that up in a moment. Layer 2 is your department handbooks, and that lives in projects. And layer 3 is the task notes, which is the individual chat that you're having with AI at any one point. And layer 3 is the task notes. It's the individual chat that you're having with AI. So let's get practical. I'm going to show you exactly how to set up your own 3-layer system in AI. I'm going to open up Claude here in front of me, and unfortunately you can't see what I'm doing, but you can follow along. And it's the same thing in ChatGPT. It's the same principle applies. So as I mentioned, I use Claude on a day-to-day basis. Now on the bottom left of my screen on Claude, I have my name there with my face. And if I click that, I can go to Settings. And under Settings, there's the first panel, which is called General. And there's this big text box where I can type stuff in. It says, what personal preferences should Claude consider in responses? And in there, I've got all kinds of stuff. Now, I've taken a long time to set mine up. Yours won't be as detailed. But I've got my personal profile. I've got my name, my role, my location. I've even got my Enneagram type in there. I've got my personal strengths, weaknesses, how I want AI to assist me, which is a very important section. I've got everything about my company, the mission, the vision and values, our business model. I have got the revenue structure, target market. I've got strategic themes that we're working on at any one time, our scaling strategy. I've got a lot in here. So yours will start basic, but that's okay. I've just worked with it for a long time. And this is very important. So whatever I'm putting inside of this box, every single time I start a new chat with Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude, it's going to include this information into the chat. It's like that Word document with a genius. You're going to give it to him to read before he helps you, and it's going to vastly improve his responses. Now, you're not going to see this in the chat because this happens behind the scenes. It's invisibly being loaded up into what's called the context window, the working memory of this particular session. Now, that takes care of the base stuff. Now, there's stuff in here that I purposefully won't have in here. So there's specific sales information or marketing or operational stuff. And I don't always want all of that context in every chat because I may be working inside of a sales context now and I don't need all my operational stuff in my sales context. And so what's nice is I can have a different handbook for that in the case of iGenius. In the case of Claude or the AI, and it's the same thing for ChatGPT, on the left of my screen I can go into something called projects. And I've got a few projects that I've created here. I've got client-specific projects, and then I've got stuff like a personal assistant, and I've got a sales project. And for instance, I'll open up my sales project here, and on the top right, there's this thing called instructions. And it's the same principle. It's a big text box, and inside there I can paste a whole bunch of stuff. I can write everything. In here, we've got our sort of operating manual for sales, how I want the AI to behave, what's its operating dynamic. I specifically wanted to act like a peer and not a worker. It needs to challenge me on stuff. And again, mine is quite vast. I've taken time to build up this project context. Yours might be quite simplistic in nature. But once I do this, something magical happens. When I'm in the sales project and I create a new chat and I start engaging with this AI, it's automatically loading up all the base context, everything about the company. All that initial briefing that I did on day one with the genius, I don't have to ever do it again. It's loaded up automatically. On top of that, it loads the second layer, which is everything I've pasted inside of the sales project. It knows everything to do with my sales. And all that's left for me to do is to go into my chat and start asking questions. Of course, there is a third layer, where you're encouraged to sort of broaden out your chat. Don't ask Google search-related stuff like short prompts. Build it out. Say I'm dealing with a new client. They're asking for special terms. It's typically not how we work. I'm worried that if I extend the special terms to them, we're obligated for other clients or it weakens our position. I would actually build out that whole thing in a prompt and then send it through. And because I've got the base layer, I've got the next layer, which is the project layer for that particular scope, plus this additional context and any files I might have, I can attach it to the specific prompt. I get incredible results out the box. And I never have to always be giving it fresh context all the time. And I don't have to get stuck with generic cookie cutter responses. So that is that. That's the system. Now do yourself a favor and take 20 minutes to set it up. Pick your favorite platform. Could be Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever. And start by setting up your base context. Who you are, what you do, and how AI can help. Just start there. Then keep building it up over time. Every time AI misses something or doesn't quite understand, just add it in. It's that simple. Remember, more context equals better output every single time. And that's it. As promised, a one-time setup, a permanent upgrade. You've just become a context engineer. That's it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. If you got value from today's show, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and becoming a member of the Corp community while it's still free. I'll be back with more next week, same time. Till then, have an awesome week.